Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Today we have grouped together to watch this video. And this video is about Wowo's Nova Flare and just how buns it is, right? Now, I always had my expectations for Wowo's Nova a little low, right? Well, actually, that's a lie. I had decently high expectations. However, if they weren't met, at the minimum, right? The minimum expectations I had was that I wanted for them to just fix Wowo sustain, right? If you are going to fix anything, just make it so that she can sustain significantly better, kind of similar to like a Hyacine, and you literally don't need to buff anything else, and that alone makes her best in slot for nearly every team in the game, right? Or a majority of them, because giving an attack buff and ER buffs while having like SP neutrality / positivity and good healing, you just cannot go wrong with that, right? And I mean, it's just been underwhelming, right? She is getting added to the golden token shop. Maybe this is affecting the reason behind, her buffs being mid. But like, even then, look at Welt, right? Like I do know Welt got nerfed a little bit recently, with the vulnerability changing into damage bonus and the damage bonus being more conditional than the old vulnerability. However, even still, the guy is still a pretty fucking strong buffer, right? Nonetheless, even after all that. And it's like, why are they doing this for a standard character? Not that I'm complaining, but then they're holding back so much, it feels like, with Wowo, right? And this has become even worse recently, because before, at least the attack buff from Wowo could do something for Silverwolf, because Silverwolf had an attack to elation damage conversion, and that's gone now. Right now it's a speed to elation conversion, meaning Silverwolf doesn't benefit from Wowo's energy. Silverwolf barely benefits at all from her attack buff. She's literally useless to Silverwolf, and her only point as a sustain on elation teams is just a temporary filler slot to feed a little bit of energy to Yao Guang, and that's literally it, right? Like, it's really embarrassing just how bad she is currently on a Silverwolf team. Evanescia, this problem isn't as much. Evanescia, although yes, similar to Silverwolf, however, Evanescia can still take, I think, better advantage of attack percent buffs, and Evanescia fucking loves energy, right? Like, her entire thing is getting her as much energy as possible, similar to like to a Saber, to be able to spam ults as frequently as possible. So she loves Wowo, right? I don't think Wowo is going to stay best in slot for her, but she's much more of a viable option in comparison to Silverwolf teams, where it genuinely feels like she's completely useless. Now, I do have one line of thinking of why it is this is the case. They probably want to sell a best in slot sustain. I mean, this should be obvious for Silverwolf and the Elation teams. So in order to sell a sustain that is significantly better than Wowo, they're making sure that they aren't buffing Wowo too much, right? Because if someone sees that the new sustain is only, let's say, 20 or 30% better than Wowo, when Wowo's in the golden token shop, attainable free, and you can get her E1 a lot easier, a lot of people are just going to skip that. However, if you make Wowo purposefully still mid, buff her a little bit to make people a little bit satisfied, you are in a much easier position to make the newer sustain significantly power creep Wowo, and people are then enticed to pull the new sustain and get rid of their Wowo or put Wowo somewhere else, right? It just really sucks. I feel like they are purposefully holding themselves back so hard when it comes to Wowo, because they know like she is a goated sustain, right? She has always been the goated sustain, and her only downfalls have been the SP negativity because of the fact that she struggles to sustain. And even now, she still has sustain issues. I'm not asking for a buff to her attack buffs. I'm not asking for a buff to her energy buffs, although that is something I'd like. At the bare minimum, I need a buff to her sustain. She needs something similar to Hyacine. For those who don't know, Hyacine heals your characters after they get hit, right? Outside of her turns, after they get hit, they will end up healing a chunk off of Hyacint's max percent HP, I believe, which is what makes Hyacin sustain so goddamn strong. It's not only the max HP increase from her ult, but also the fact that you can just regain health after being hit. Against today's, mobs, they just spam way too much, and some of them do way more damage in comparison to the olden days. So when you are, consecutively getting attacked by a bunch of mobs, this is especially prevalent in, from what I've seen, AAs, right? Especially like play AAs and stuff. It's just way too annoying to sustain with Ho-Oh, and sometimes you literally die off the bat. I'm not even trolling. There are like some clips of like 4.2 beta AA where people have to instantly restart a run from the very beginning before they take a turn because the mobs instantly hit the entire team and kill them way too fast if the bounce is unlucky. Right? I mean, that's just absolutely terrible. This is a Nova flared sustain, and she still has this issue. So please, I am begging, give her a max HP increase, and if you aren't going to do that, give her a, gimmick similar to Hyacin, where she's able to heal allies once they got hit for, I don't know, scaling off of her attack percent or whatever, right? Just anything at this point. Fix the sustain. I feel like people would complain a lot less about Ho-Oh Nova. It would still probably be the most underwhelming Nova of all fucking time, but I mean, it's a sustain. Sustains aren't released anywhere near as often, so their value is still high, and almost nobody wants to pull sustains to begin with. So not that many people would complain, in my opinion, so long as you checked off that box. But as of current V3, she still has sustain issues. She didn't get a buff to her yard gen capabilities. She did get a buff to her attack buffing capabilities, but it's niche for characters who have, I think, a 160 or more energy requirement. All in all, this is just a very, very disappointing Nova Flare, and I definitely expected better, a lot better. I thought for some reason that her being the filler sustain for the Elation teams would give her a lot more of better treatment in terms of her Nova. However, it ended up being the opposite. I think they're purposefully bricking her Nova so that they can sell a better sustain down the line and just make it easier to make them look way better against her, which is a bit disappointing. But let me know what you guys think down in the comments. Do you guys think Ho-Oh Nova is disappointing? Do you think I'm fucking nitpicking or whatever? I think 99% of you guys watching this video would probably agree with me. It's really underwhelming currently. Love you all. Hope you have a great day. Hope you all have a great night. Peace out.